Welcome to Making a Murderer, Rubberducky YouTube channel. Okay, you guys, I'm kind of excited. We've got one more read this week, and then we start off on Monday again. It gives you the weekend with no uploads to go ahead and get caught up if you would like. And today we're doing the daily MaM reading, and we're doing part 20, which is pages 191 through 200.
Page 191. Type of activity, supplemental report, search warrant, Barbara E. Yonda. Date of activity, 11:09:05, reporting officer, investigator Wendy Baldwin. On 11:09:05, I, investigator Wendy Baldwin, along with several agents from the State of Wisconsin Department of Criminal Justice, DCI, met and decided which individuals would execute the search warrants. Special Agent Joe Capitani of DCI and I were going to execute the search warrant for Barbara E. Yonda. At approximately 13:30 hours, Special Agent Capitani received a call from one of his agents at the Earl Avery residence indicating that Barbara was there and they could not find Earl. We made contact at Earl's residence, and Special Agent Deb Strauss of DCI indicated she had already read Barbara Yonda the Miranda warning. Barbara said she was willing to answer questions. A protective sweep was done at the residence due to Earl possibly being hidden inside the residence somewhere. A search of the house was done, however Earl was not found. There was a firearm that was located under one of Earl's daughter's bed. That weapon was secured for safety reasons, however, will be returned at a later time. Barbara was escorted to my squad car where she sat in the front passenger seat. While on the way to Aurora Medical Center, Special Agent Capitani did speak with Barbara. See his report for details on her interview. After reading the search warrant to obtain DNA samples, fingerprint, and palm prints, it was found it was not valid due to Barbara's last name being Avery on the search warrant instead of Yonda. Barbara, however, did sign a permission to search form. At approximately 14:29 hours, I did enter the exam room with Barbara. At approximately 14:37 hours, Barbara did sign the hospital's consent to take the samples. At approximately 14:44 hours, Barbara signed the consent form to search from our department. The samples and prints were taken from Barbara and later turned over to the evidence technician. Page 192. Investigator Wendy Baldwin, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 193. Type of activity, search warrant of Earl K. Avery, male, white, date of birth 06/10/70. Date of activity, 11:09:05, reporting officer, investigator Gary Stryer. Synopsis. On Wednesday, 11:09:05, investigator Gary Stryer of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, along with Special Agent James A. Siler of the State of Wisconsin Department of Criminal Investigation, DCI, conducted a search warrant of Earl K. Avery, male, white, date of birth 06/10/70, for a buccal swab, finger and palm prints, and physical examination for defense wounds. Earl Avery was transported by Investigator Stryer and Special Agent Siler to Aurora Medical Center, 5000 Memorial Drive, Two Rivers, Wisconsin, 54241. The evidence from Earl Avery's person was collected by evidence custodian Sergeant Bill Tyson. Investigator Stryer noted the times of collection on the back of the search warrant return. Narrative. On Wednesday, 11:09:05 at approximately 1:45 p.m., Investigator Stryer, Calumet County Sheriff's Department, along with Special Agent James Siler, DCI, arrived at Earl Avery's residence at 6904 Highway Y, Whitelaw, Wisconsin. Upon our arrival, Agents Deb Strauss, Louis Ojeda, and Joe Capitani of the State of Wisconsin, DCI, along with Investigator Wendy Baldwin, investigator with the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, were at the residence speaking with Candy Avery and Dolores Avery. Investigator Gary Stryer approached the door of the residence and spoke with Candy Avery, informing her the search warrant was for the person of Earl Avery. Candy Avery informed Investigator Stryer that Earl Avery was not at the residence. She stated she did not know where Earl was at this time. Special Agent Louis Ojeda informed Investigator Stryer that Candy and Dolores had spoken with Earl inside the residence. Investigator Steyer asked for consent to enter the residence and was granted permission by Dolores Avery and Candy's daughter, Marie Avery, who resides at the residence. Candy Avery had left the door and had entered into the residence out of view from Investigator Steyer. The agents entered the residence while Investigator Steyer spoke with Dolores Avery in the kitchen of the residence. Investigator Steyer informed Dolores Avery and Candy Avery that investigators were looking for Earl for a search warrant of his person and not to arrest him. Investigator Steyer informed the Averys that Earl would return home after being taken to the hospital to collect physical evidence named on the search warrant. Investigators conducted a protective sweep of the residence and did not locate Earl Avery, but did provide page 194. Investigator Steyer with a black case 12-gauge shotgun with barrel. Investigator Steyer did search the weapon inside his vehicle. Investigator Steyer then spoke with Candy Avery outside the residence as investigators removed the individuals they had been assigned to execute the search warrant of persons. Candy Avery contacted Earl's cell phone and provided Investigator Steyer with Earl's cell phone number. Candy Avery then called Earl's cell phone number and left a message indicating he should call her back. Investigator Steyer also called the cell phone number of 920-793-0330 and left a message for Earl to contact Investigator Steyer. Investigator Steyer provided his cell phone number on the voice message. Candy Avery asked Investigator Steyer what Investigator Steyer and Special Agent Seiler, who remained on scene, were going to do now. Investigator Steyer told Candy Avery he was not sure, and Special Agent Seiler and Steyer proceeded back into Investigator Steyer's vehicle, which remained in the driveway. While Investigator Steyer and Special Agent Seiler were inside Investigator Steyer's vehicle, Earl Avery walked out of the residence with Candy Avery. Special Agent Seiler asked Earl where he was in the residence, and Earl informed investigators he was in the upstairs bedroom, hiding under some clothes. Earl Avery informed investigators he was scared, and that is why he hid from investigators. Investigator Steyer then read verbatim the copy of the search warrant to Earl K. Avery, date of birth 06/10/70. Earl was provided a copy at this time. Special Agent Seiler informed Earl Avery he would be in custody but would not be under arrest at the present time. Earl was searched by Special Agent Seiler. Earl then entered Investigator Steyer's vehicle. Earl sat in the passenger front inside the vehicle. Investigator Steyer started an audio tape and read a Miranda warning to Earl Avery. Earl also read along the Miranda warning form. Earl indicated he was waiving his Miranda warning and signed a Miranda warning form. See Exhibit section. Earl was transported by Investigator Steyer, Special Agent Seiler, to Aurora Medical Center located at 5000 Memorial Drive, Two Rivers, Wisconsin 54241. At the healthcare facility, Investigator Steyer notes times of physical exam, buccal swab, finger, and palm prints on the back of the search warrant return. Evidence custodian Sergeant Bill Tyson of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department collected evidence and documented time of collection. Sane registered nurse Faye L. Fritz, date of birth 10/05/70, along with Dr. Vogel Schwartz, M.D., conducted the physical examination. Fingerprints and palm prints were taken by Correctional Officer Larry Schroeder of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department. That concludes the search warrant report. Gary Steyer, Investigator, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 195. Type of activity, interview of Bobby Dassey. Date of activity 11/09/05. Reporting Officer Investigator John Dietering. Documents generated, Miranda warning, and 2 cassette tapes. On Wednesday, 11/09/05, DCI Special Agent Kevin Himerl and I. Dietering were given the assignment of serving a warrant on Bobby J. Dassey for his finger and palm prints and a DNA swab. We received the assignment in the morning and spent the majority of the morning and a good part of the afternoon attempting to contact Mr. Dassey. We ultimately made contact with Bobby Dassey, and he agreed to meet us at Aurora Medical Center located between Manitowoc and Two Rivers on State Highway 42. At 14:44 hours on 11/09/05, I. Dietering did serve the warrant on Bobby Dassey. At this point, I explained to him that he was not in custody, but was not technically free to leave either until we executed the warrant. At 14:47 hours, I, Dietering, did review Bobby Dassey's Miranda warning from a form. The form was initialed in the proper areas by Dassey, was signed by Bobby Dassey, and witnessed by Special Agent Hermerl and me. We advised Bobby Dassey we were going to be recording the interview, and he indicated he had no problem with this. A synopsis of the tape interview is that once again, Dassey stated he left home at approximately 1500 hours on 10/31/05. He had observed a Till SUV that he had never touched or gotten close to. He stated when he left the property there was no one in his immediate sight. He stated he did not talk with Steven Avery between 11 a.m. and noon on 10/31/05, indicating he was asleep and was a very sound sleeper. He stated he does not even hear the telephone when it rings. Dassey indicated he stayed home until 23:30 hours on 10/31/05 and then left for work at Hamilton Manufacturing. Dassey states only Steven Avery has keys to Steven's house. Dassey states he knew nothing about the family dinner at Grandma Avery's on 10/31/05. Dassey indicated he has seen the Suzuki that we discussed with him parked at Steven's garage for about 2 weeks. Indicates the clutch is out and you have to push it to move it. He stated the Suzuki was parked in the garage the week before the girl went missing. Page 196. Dassey indicated that sometimes family members will burn the heads of deer, but this is usually in the burn barrel. Dassey stated the only deer at the residence was the deer that is hanging in the garage currently. Bobby Dassey states this is his first year bow hunting, and he hunts approximately 2.5 miles away from his house. Dassey stated Steven was mad at Barbara about something, and he was not sure what, but they patched it up last Wednesday. Dassey indicated he does not talk to Charles or Earl, and has not spoken with Chris Avery in the past 9 months. Dassey indicated that on Tuesday or Wednesday, he observed a burning in the area in a pit behind Steven's garage. He believed there was brush burning. Dassey stated he was home that night. Bobby Dassey states Steven sometimes burns tires in the pit, and Steven usually burns tires at night so you cannot see the smoke. Dassey indicated Steven does not burn his tires anywhere else, and he indicated he believes Steven was burning with Dassey's little brother, Brendan. At 16:18 hours by my watch, Bobby Dassey's palm prints and fingerprints were taken by correctional officers Schroeder and Fleming. At 16:31 hours by my watch, there was a physical examination of Bobby Dassey by Faye L. Fritsch, an exam nurse at Aurora Medical Center. At 16:36 hours, I did question Bobby Dassey regarding scratches on his back. He stated these were due to his week-old Labrador puppy jumping on his back. He stated he was bent down to put on his shoes when the dog jumped up and scratched him. I did examine Dassey's shirt and could find no obvious holes or tears. The exam ended at 16:43 hours by my watch. I did speak with Dr. Vogel Schwartz, who indicated the scratches appeared to be fairly recent, but possibly could be a little older. She stated it was not likely they were over a week old. She stated it is her opinion that the scratches were fairly recent. The scratches to Bobby Dassey's back were photographed. Page 197. At 16:48 hours, we did escort Dassey from the hospital. He was released and I observed him speaking with his mother in the parking lot. Investigation continues. Investigator John Dietering, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 198. Type of activity, transport of Steven A. Avery. Date of activity, 11/09/05. Reporting officer, Deputy Jennifer J. Bass. On 11/09/05 at approximately 15:55 hours, I, Deputy Jennifer J. Bass of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, was asked to call dispatch via my mobile data computer. I telephoned dispatch and received word that I was to meet up with investigator Mark Wiegert at the intersection of U.S. Highway 151 and Interstate 43 at the Holiday Inn parking lot. I started to drive towards Manitowoc. At 16:30 hours, dispatch created a screen for me and gave it LCA 0511 09009370 listing. It is a violation of court order for Steven A. Avery, date of birth 070962. It also stated that Avery was in possession of firearms, which he is not allowed to have due to the fact he is a felon. At 16:24 hours, I arrived at the Holiday Inn parking lot and Avery was unloaded from a black Impala, in which Investigator Rieger and Avery were in the back seat of, being driven by a man I know as Tom from the Department of Criminal Investigation. Avery was put in a transport belt and cuffed in front. Investigator Rieger then placed him in the back passenger side of my vehicle. I was informed Avery had been read his rights and was not going to speak to anybody. I was told by Investigator Rieger not to question Avery, and if he said anything on the ride over, to note it and put it in a report. I told Investigator Rieger I understood. From 16:28 hours to 16:58 hours, I was en route to the Calumet County Sheriff's Department jail. At 16:51 hours during the ride over, the seatbelt came off Avery. I heard a sharp metal click as it hit the side of the door. I looked back and he said my seatbelt came off. I said, okay. I then typed dispatch for them to put in the notes and to let the jail know the seatbelt had come off and I was not going to stop to rebelt him due to the fact I had no backup. At 16:58 hours, I arrived at Calumet County Jail. I was there until 17:08 hours, filling out booking papers for Steve Avery. Avery was cooperative the whole time. I did not speak any more on the ride over, nor did I speak to him. Deputy Jennifer J. Bass, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 199. Type of activity: Deputy Rick Reamer. Date of activity: 11:09:05. Reporting officer: Deputy Rick Reamer. On 11:09:05, I, Deputy Rick Reamer, Unit Number 832 of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, was summoned and arrived at the scene at approximately 1600 hours, however, did not have any duties. Deputy Rick Reamer, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 200. Type of activity: Supplemental report. Date of activity: 11:09:05. Reporting officer: Deputy Joseph M. Tenner. On 11:09:05 at approximately 1640 hours, I, Deputy Joseph M. Tenner of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, obtained a search warrant from the Honorable Judge Fox for the Avery property. Joseph M. Tenner, Deputy, Calumet County Sheriff's Department.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and start our review, and we're going to start out with, we're learning people's names here. So the investigators and the difference between Calumet, Manitowoc, and DCI. So DCI is the state investigator. All right, so it's a Department of Criminal Investigation. So when you see special agent, that is somebody that works for DCI, Department of Criminal Investigation. So right away we see Barbara, they have a search warrant for her. And this is what happens. Wendy Baldwin, who's Calumet County, teams up with DCI Joe Capitani. And then later they get there to the residence of Earl and can't find him. And so Deb Strauss is there, DCI. So we have two DCI agents. We have Joe Capitani and Deb Strauss. They do a search of Earl's residence. They do find a firearm under the daughter's bed, but they do not find Earl. So they go ahead and they take Barbara. So this is Capitani takes Barbara, and they take her in and they're going to do an evaluation of her physical and get her palm prints and her fingerprints and such. And at the time, they realized that Barb's last name is on the search warrant is her maiden name, but her name is different. Now we're on page 193, and we get a synopsis of Gary Steyer. Now he's Calumet County, but of course he's teamed up. So he is with the special agent. So when you see special agent, we're talking DCI state, and his name is Siler. So you notice how this works? There's always the DCI agent or somebody higher up. So if it's Manitowoc, then they're teamed up with Calumet. If it's Calumet, they seem to be teamed up with DCI. Now what they're doing in this is they're looking for Earl Avery, and they can't seem to locate him. So they're speaking to Candy Avery and Dolores Avery. So Candy Avery is Earl's wife, and Dolores is the mother of both Stephen, Chuck, Barbara, and Earl. And they've already done a preliminary, safety search, can't find him. Later, they find the gun under the daughter's bed. That was a 12-gauge shotgun with a barrel. So the barrel was intact. However, here comes Earl out of the residence, right here, with his wife Candy, and he states he was hiding upstairs in the bedroom under some clothing because he got scared. And they didn't find him? Okay, so then we go through an interview with Bobby. He really keeps a pretty good... He doesn't vary as much on this one. So here's a synopsis of the taped interview that was Dassey. This is how and it's approximately 1,500 hours on 10/31 is when he left his home, Bobby. So that was approximately 3 o'clock. So how did the boys get off the bus? See, Bobby's sleeping at 3:30 p.m. If he's saying now he's left at 3. He observed a teal, now he says teal, SUV, and he never touched it or got close. He states when he left the property that no one was in immediate sight. Okay, that's key. He stated he did not talk with Steven Avery at 11 o'clock and at noon on 10/31, indicating he was asleep, and he's a very sound sleeper. He doesn't hear the telephone ring. He stayed home, and then stayed home until... Okay, here does it say he left at all? Yes. Let's just make sure we've got that. That he left home at 3, but it doesn't say anywhere in here what time he comes back. But then, whatever time he does come back, he states here that 11:30, that's what that means, 11:30 p.m. on the 31st, that he went to work at Hamilton Manufacturing. I don't understand that. If he works second shift, he starts at midnight? Let's make a little note of this. Okay, so then as we go further, he talks about the Suzuki that's parked in Steven's garage. And it's been parked there for a little over 2 weeks. The clutch is out. They have to push it to move it. He states the Suzuki was parked in the garage the week before the girl went missing. So obviously Steven's going to work on it because the clutch has gone out, as we've heard before. Now we're on page 196, and I just want to make a note. This is Dassey's claim. He stated the only deer at the residence was the deer that is hanging in the garage currently. So when is this date? So if Bobby actually claimed the deer on the 3rd, that would mean that the deer was killed on the 3rd, so we'd have the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. 6 days. Deer hanging. Now, on the 5th, they would have removed the family. So that could be why it's still hanging there. But we just want to pay close attention to that. We have a lot of deer talk later in the case. Then he goes on. He goes into that this is his first year bow hunting and that he hunts approximately 2.5 miles away from his house. So this is his first year bow hunting and he's 19 years old. Okay, I'll buy it. It could be. Pretty diehard hunter to be a first year. Dassey stated Steven was mad at Barbara and that they patched it up on Wednesday, but he didn't know what was. He does not talk to Chuck and Earl and has not spoken with Chris Avery in 9 months. He says that on Tuesday or Wednesday, he observed a burning in the area in a pit behind Steven's garage. So he's stating that it would have been the 2nd or 3rd of November. He states that sometimes Steven does burn tires. He does it at night so that you can't see the smoke. And that he thought he saw Brendan Dassey with Steven at that time. And then he talks about getting Bobby's fingerprints and palm prints. And then we get into this. Scratches on his back. So he's saying that it's from a very young Labrador puppy jumping on his back. And they do have quite sharp claws. And they're little, it's a little dog too. He says he was bent down to put on his shoes when the dog jumped up and scratched him. So they examined him, and we've got some photographs of those scratches. Now, Dr. Vogel Schwartz, you have to still kind of pause at the name, indicated the scratches appeared to be fairly recent, but could be a little older, and is not likely to be over a week old. Okay, so let's pause there, and let's go ahead and pull up the photographs. Okay, so I pulled up, there'll be 2 pictures, I believe, and in this you can see quite clearly we have 1, 2, 3 claw marks. Now, look how far apart they are compared to the gentleman or the female's finger, to the gloved finger. They're actually spread pretty far apart. Now, he's talking about a puppy, and puppies, their scratch marks are usually very close. So that, to me, personally, would not match what's being described as the activity that causes scratches. It looks more like somebody had the ability to spread their fingers out, and that looks like a claw mark to me. So let's go ahead and see if we have another picture. Okay, we do. We have one here. That's a little scratch on his side, but there was one more. Let me see, maybe it's past that other one. Oh, great. Now the computer doesn't want to give. Okay. Nope, that's it. All right, so now we've looked at it, and I'll let you be the judge. So we jumped ahead to the last page, but we're going to go backwards today. So, we went midway. Now we're going to backtrack. We're on page 200. We're with Joseph M. Tenner. And he's saying at 4:40 p.m. they get a search warrant, he does, from Judge Fox to search Avery's property. 4:40 p.m., a little before 5. Okay? So what I don't get is how they are arresting him at 3:55, which is a little before 4. So an hour earlier than the search warrant is produced. They've already have Steve Avery in custody, and they are stating that Avery is in possession of a firearm, which is considered a felony. So an hour before they go to search his home and verify that he indeed does have a firearm, they've already charged him. Now, he was cooperative the whole time, but he did not speak. He was waiting on his lawyer. And then on page 199, we have Rick Reamer responding at 4 o'clock, arriving at the scene. We don't know what scene. We don't know if it's with Steven Avery or if it's at Steven Avery's property, but he's summoned, and however, he has absolutely no duties. What? Yeah. I just don't even know where to go with that. I'm sure he was quite busy. He just didn't have duties he wanted to report that day. It's just, I won't say coincidence. I won't say nefarious. I'll just simply keep saying the word just suspicious. Sup, right? Suspicious sup. Okay, that concludes our read this week, and I thank you for joining me. So that concludes our reading this week. I want to thank you so much for joining me for the Daily MaM Reading. We do have a strong following where our core members are already over about 300, which is remarkable for somebody to join us. That many people to gather for a reading daily is incredible. Well worth our time to do this public awareness, even if it's just one of you joining me. So I thank you very much with that. And as we go, we've got the new series coming out, and that was released yesterday. And that is our Mini MaM series. And it's a wonderful series to invite some of your family and friends and others to spread the awareness. And it only takes, 20 minutes a week, 30 minutes a week for them to get brought up on the case. And it might spur some of their own interest. So with that, I want to thank you for your support very much. And if you didn't do the crime, you shouldn't do the time. I want to thank you again and have a great evening.